It's a very surprising day in the world of Magic the Gathering. More Mystery Booster 2 spoilers have been revealed, and this set is shaping up to be the most insane thing Wizards of the Coast has ever made. Drawing from random sources like Vanguard, and even crazier, they finally made the Velikan Dragon.
Magic. History.
I'm an old wizard!
The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because you are in for a treat. We have gathered to take a look at a bunch of super wild Mystery Booster 2 spoiler cards. And as an added treat, we have an incredible Secret Lair bonus card to look at as well. The Velikan Dragon has finally been printed. This card has been waiting 20 years to finally get a chance in booster packs. And the stuff they're doing involving Vanguard makes me so very happy. With that being said, it's time to look at some cards. We're starting off with a very wonky card that I never expected Wizards of the Coast to actually print. This is Velikan Dragon. It's 2 red and 5 for a 5/5 flyer. When it attacks or blocks, you roll a 6-sided die, and it gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the result -1. That feels strange, doesn't it? The flavor text says, the most powerful among them, Azusa rules Velik with Flame and Claw. So this is a magic card that has actually technically existed for over 20 years, but has never been printed. And that's because it originally comes from a Japanese Dreamcast game. And its ability was originally worded saying, whenever it attacks or blocks, it gets a random power boost equal to a number between 0 and 5. So, Wizards of the Coast has changed the wording slightly by changing it to you roll a 6-sided die and -1, which functionally gives you a result from 0 to 5. And I know that Wizards decided to add in some cards from Arena that are specifically crazy with the acorn symbols on them. But this is not an acorn symboled card from a video game. This is now a regular everyday Magic card pulled from a video game that was created decades ago. So it's fascinating on that level, but it also has very interesting flavor implications from a dragon perspective. When you look at it, you go, okay, so clearly this result of the die roll is supposed to be its flame breath. You can see the dragon coming down from the sky. It looks like it has ornamental earrings too, which makes me curious about the whole culture of the dragons on that world. But the bonus that it gets being random is very strange. It means one of two different things as far as I'm concerned. It means either the dragon doesn't have that much control over its flame breath, where sometimes it's just going to come roaring out and do 5 extra damage, where other times it literally can't muster out any fire and it just does 0 damage. Or it means the flames have some kind of ethereal nature where they're not perfectly in lock with reality, so they can somewhat phase out. So even though you're breathing out all this fire, it can just flow over you harmlessly, not actually physically affecting you. And that is a fun concept from either perspective, right? It really does make the Velikan Dragons feel distinctive, which I'll admit they need, really, because at this point, this is an underwhelming card from a power perspective, and really just dragon collectors are going to want to get it, because the dragons nowadays are a million times more powerful. But either way, an incredibly fascinating card for Wizards to include in the Mystery Boosters 2 set. And we've got a lot more fun stuff to look at. Check this out. This is Spasm Strategist. This card is hilarious to me. Now, to get this card, you either need to have been around since the days of Legends or have randomly heard about the whole fungal spasm setup, right? So spasms basically go like this. They are a 4-mana 2/2. When it attacks, if it's not blocked, you can choose to have it deal no damage. If you have it deal no damage, you get to destroy target artifact. But The catch is the card was actually written poorly. So it actually says the Spasm gets to decide whether it deals damage or destroys an artifact. And obviously, Magic cards can't make decisions. So if you're getting really technical about it, the Spasm's ability doesn't function. Now, we never played it that way. We understood the intention of the card and just played it normally. But this right here solves all of that. The Spasm Strategist is a 4-mana 4/4 that says you make all choices for spasms you control. And you can see it's literally a spasm advising you. Like, it's such a goofy concept, but I absolutely love that they included this. Then we've got Bowl Shack Dragon. So if you like the old Duel Master game, then you're going to dig this guy. 1 red and 5 for a 6/6 armored dragon. It's got double strike, but you can see like double breaker. They crossed out everything that would make this into a Duel Master card and replaced it with the words that would make it into a Magic card. So it's 6 mana for a 6/6 double strike. While attacking, this creature gets +1, it'd be +1,000 power for each fire, that's crossed out, red card in your graveyard. So it's a double striker that gets +1 power for every red card in your graveyard. Compare that to the Velikan Dragon we just looked at. This costs less mana, has a bigger body, has double strike, and gets a big boost from creatures in your graveyard. Or not creatures, I should say, every red card in your graveyard. This is bonkers, and obviously they would never, well, you know what, never mind. Maybe Magic will get power crept to the point where this could just be made into a real card, because we've seen a number of these playtest cards turn into real cards. But I thought this was a fun little nod to another card game, and it really makes me laugh that all these other card games use like plus thousands and thousands of power compared to Magic, where +1, that's what we've got, right? Nice and straightforward. Either way, fun little card. Then we've got Control of the Court. This one I included because this was originally in Portal 3 Kingdoms, and this is the first reprinting of it. It's a red and 1 for a sorcerer that says draw 4 cards, then discard 3 cards at random. It's not a particularly powerful card, but it's just interesting to include. Moving on, we've got Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. So this is a reprint of the Gix that we originally got in the Brothers War. The reason this is included, and there are a number of cards like this, is because Wizards made the most amazing choice of taking the art from the Vanguard oversized cards and putting them onto the actual Magic cards. So if you've never heard of the Vanguard cards, they are slightly larger than regular Magic cards, and they are like a game modifier where you play specifically the Vanguard format. It changes the number of cards in your hand, it changes your starting life total, and it gives you extra abilities. Some of them say all your lands tap for a mana of any color. Other ones say your opponents have to play with their hand revealed, and these sit outside the game pretty much similar to the way that emblems do, affecting the game, but you can't interact with them. So they created a set of about 20 to 30 of these different Vanguards for Arena back in the mid-90s. And if you've never played Vanguard, it's a lot of fun. But the Vanguard stuff is hard to come by, and the artwork on it really does evoke the characters from that era quite well. So Gix shown here with this completely Phyrexianized, what I assume was once a human. This is absolutely epic artwork and really does evoke the old school Magic feel. And we have a number of cards, like I said, that they've done this with, and I'm super stoked about it. So we've also got Karn, Legacy Reforged, right? Oh, it's just, man, it's so satisfying to see them with this old school artwork. It is very nostalgic for me. We've got Kagachi, the Vengeful Kami. I included this one because I find, first of all, the card to be absolutely wild. 6/6 flying trample. Whenever it hits a player, if that player attacked you during their last turn, you get to exile one of their permanents. This has like a huge commander feel to it in terms of, oh, did you get me? Well, Kagachi's mad at you and he's gonna get you. And Kagachi is essentially like the overlord spirit of the Kamigawa spirit world. He has his child stolen from him in the original Kamigawa story, and that starts the spirit war. So having him as this vengeful, I'm gonna get you because you got me kind of guy is great. And obviously the ability works quite well in a 2-player game too, right? If your opponent swung at you, bam, every time I hit you, I'm gonna ice out one of your guys. And It's extremely satisfying to see the casting cost like this. One of all 5 different colors of mana and the one perfectly filling out the 6 slots along the side. It's visually very satisfying on top of being a powerhouse card. So this is a great use of the Future Sight frame. Then we've got Omnipresent Imposter. This is a 2-mana 2/1 changeling shapeshifter. It has all card names, which is a pretty funky concept. And it has, as you search your library for 1 or more cards, you may choose Imposter as one of those cards. For example, if you search for 2 lands, you can find the Imposter and a land card. I really like this ability. This isn't the first time we've seen while you're searching through your deck, you can get this card. Panglacial Worm from Cold Snap is a 7-cast 9/5 trampler that says when you're searching through your deck for another card, you can pay this guy's casting cost and cast him from your deck. So this takes that concept to a whole new level, where instead of saying, hey, I'm an add-on and you can cast me while you're searching, this is free, right? Like when it says you can find this in place of other cards, it doesn't mean you have to cast it. So I don't know, when I look at this, it really does feel like it's not that far from being a real Magic card. It's got a lot of possibilities with it. And the fact that they gave it Changeling makes it a lot more interesting for a variety of different decks. And having everybody's card name is cool too, because then you can get bonuses that apply to other cards. So a very interesting card design. Then we've got Rusko Clockmaker. This guy was originally on Arena. Notice that he's got the acorn symbol so that he is not a technically normal legal Magic card. When he enters the battlefield, you conjure a card named Midnight Clock onto the battlefield. Midnight Clock is a 3-cast artifact that taps for a blue mana, and every turn you put a counter on it. Once you hit 12 counters, a la the clock striking midnight, then you get rid of the clock, but you get a brand new hand of 7 cards. So the Midnight Clock is pretty strong, but it gets even crazier with Rusko, because whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put an hour counter on each permanent you control named Midnight Clock. Each opponent loses a life, and you gain a life, right? And so you basically are just hastening towards the ultimate refill. Trust me, Rusko is really obnoxious to face off against in Arena, and there are going to be people who absolutely want to use him as their commander in physical Magic, and there's absolutely going to be people who say, no, 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 no. But there's another level to Rusko. Rusko is one of my favorite characters from the Brothers War story. He has a genuine impact on Urza. He is a very fun dude. He's a questionable merchant, right? Like, he's got a good heart, but also a greedy heart, and just the way he carries on is absolutely fantastic. So if you don't know anything about Rusko and you want to love him like I do, go watch the Brothers War story that I put out over on my Fantasy Geographic channel. I go through the entirety of the Brothers War novel, and Rusko is a fantastic character in it. So I'll leave a link to that storyline actually at the end of this video for you to check out. It is my favorite story in all of Magic's history. Urza is one of my absolute favorite characters, and Rusko is hands down 100% my favorite side character in all of Magic. So it's just really awesome to see him finally on a physical card. When they put him into Arena, I went, no, give me Rusko for real. Like, the fact that they made this artwork means they probably originally were going to put Rusko into the Brothers War set, but he got taken out at the last minute. And since they had the artwork, they made an alchemy card for him. But I love Rusko. Then we've got Sigardian Evangel. This is another one of the Arena Alchemy cards. 1 white and 1 for a 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, you conjure another Sigardian Evangel into your hand, but you discard the card at the beginning of the next end step. And it also says when it enters the battlefield, tap target permanent you don't control. That part of it is all right. Sure, you can tap down something so you can swing through. But I just like the fact that as you cast one, you automatically get to replace it with another one. So you can just chain a bunch of them out. And if you have a way to generate mana from creatures coming out, you could essentially go infinite with this guy very easily. And the evangelizing that he's doing is quite effective because it keeps bringing more people into the fold, right? So it works from a flavor perspective too. After that, we've got Teferi, Druid of Argoth. I like this because I feel like it's a nod to Kamal going from being a barbarian into a druid. So, he's 3 green and 2 for a legendary human druid with flash. Creatures you own that aren't on the battlefield have flash, and each opponent can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. This is a really powerful set of abilities, and the fact that he slows your opponent down to sorcery speed definitely gives it that original Teferi feel, but making your creatures castable at flash speed instead of things like instants and sorceries really gives it that druid feel. And you can see that he's just chilling out in the woods with birds and stuff. Like, I love it. It's a lot of fun. Then we've got the Many Deeds of Belzenlock. This is a really, really cute idea. 1 black and 1. It's an enchantment saga. So each of the 3 levels let you basically steal a different saga's ability. Exile up to 1 target saga card from a graveyard. Copy its chapter 1 ability for its chapter 1. Its chapter 2 does the same thing but for chapter 2 abilities. And its chapter 3 steals chapter 3 ability. So essentially what you're doing is you're stapling together 3 different sagas from your graveyard to create Belzenlock's saga. And this works so well from a flavor standpoint because Belzenlock was a demon that essentially ran a cult that he went, yo, I'm responsible for everything that's ever happened. And so they spread all the lies that Belzenlock is responsible for all the deeds of all these different individuals. And so now you have him here just straight up plagiarizing 3 other sagas, which fits right in with his flavor and also is genuinely a funky idea. I don't feel like this is something that you could get too crazy powerful with. So if they made it as a real Magic card, it would probably just be an underwhelming rare. But the flavor on it is absolutely fantastic. And I love the little grin on his face as he's like, I did this. I did this. I did this. Like, it's a lot of fun. Then we've got Titania, Protector of Argoth. Again, this is done with the original Vanguard artwork. And because Wizards didn't go ahead and make any changes to the artwork at all, it makes me feel like we might be moving into a new era where Wizards is easing up on the way that they show women in Magic artwork, because we were in a period where they had very specific restrictions, right down to the point where when the artwork for Galia was created, her belly button was showing and the artist was instructed to hide her belly button. So we had a situation where Oko could be shown pretty much almost pantless, and you'd have to like cover the women up. Them pulling this artwork signals that they're probably easing up those restrictions. And honestly, this is fantastic artwork. Like, tell me this is not absolutely amazing. She definitely does feel like a nature elemental. It's really, really cool to see this Vanguard artwork showing up on cards. Then we've got another Vanguard card, Xantcha Sleeper Agent. I was so stoked when they actually made her as a physical Magic card that I made a video going, they finally did it! I can't believe this happened! This character has so much story behind her. She is literally a Phyrexian who gives up on being a Phyrexian, rejects Phyrexia. Her Heartstone is actually used to create Karn's affective matrix, right? So basically, Karn's personality was built off of Xantcha's Heartstone. She is a pivotal character in Magic the Gathering history, and again, such great use of the Vanguard artwork, right? So I'm 100% on board with this. Then we're finishing it off with a card that's not actually in Mystery Boosters. I just wanted to show off the Secret Lair bonus card, the ultra rare one that you can get from the Andrew McLean Secret Lair. We already looked at the elves you can get as the You Got Hosed prize, but this is the You Won prize, another version of Relentless Rats, right? Relentless Rats being the insane 3-mana 2/2 that gets +1/+1 for every other Relentless Rats on the battlefield, and your deck can have any number of these. The original set of Magic the Gathering back in Alpha had Plague Rats, where however many of them you had out, that was the power and toughness all the rats had out. So if you had 4 rats out, they were 4/4. Now, this was okay when they started and they didn't have deck restrictions, but once they put the 4 of rule in, Plague Rats became pretty useless. A 3 mana that could be 4/4 at best, so nobody ever really played them, right? This was Wizards reworking the Plague Rat concept into something far better, and this was all the way back in the 5th Dawn days. But people love Relentless Rats, and this artwork is absolutely incredible. Look at this woman. She is being swarmed under by endless waves of rats. She's gone pretty much catatonic. Her eyes just staring like that. Either her life is just ended, or she's got the blank stare of somebody knows like her fate is unavoidable. And you can see the rats must have bitten her because she's got these lines that look like she's been poisoned, like a plague is pulsing through her veins, right? Absolutely insane. If you starve them, they grow voracious. That's the flavor text. This is an absolutely incredible bonus card. And that's where we're wrapping up the video. So thanks for coming and hanging out, my friends. Big shout out to my patrons for supporting my channel. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a live stream where I might just be in a pickle. To find out what I mean, you'll have to come on over to my live stream channel today and see what's going on. Bye for now.